Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janai, and this is Karmic Fixer Tarot. And today I just wanted to do a reading on beauty. And that's just something that's been on my mind in general. I have a Libra stellium, so I'm really drawn to beauty, harmony, balance, that sort of thing. And beauty is always something that I've always strive for, but my idea of beauty isn't necessarily the same as what's considered conventional beauty, things like that. So I was just kind of thinking about that. I think my idea for this particular reading is based on a YouTube channel that I found, Beauty Beauty Blueprint, and a lot of really interesting videos on that channel. And I was watching a deep dive that she did on Patricia Arquette, specifically Patricia Arquette in The Lost Highway. Her role, the way that she built a character and created a character. And just speaking about beauty in general, that particular character or the way Patricia Arquette built that character, it was based on her idea of beauty as seen through the male gaze, what um, what men consider beautiful or that sort of thing. And I haven't seen the film yet, but it based on this deep dive. I love a deep dive or a video essay that makes me want to see a movie that I'd never seen before. So I guess just getting back to my point, it made me think about beauty. This particular YouTuber said something very interesting about beauty, that beauty is closer to ugliness than to perfection. So I wondered about that. And I figured I would do a reading on beauty rather, how to tap into um, my own beauty, how to be more confident or more comfortable in expressing myself through makeup, dress. I'm not necessarily trying to chase a beauty ideal, but just being comfortable in my own idea of beauty, my own aesthetic, and how to express myself through, beautifying myself, I guess. Maybe that seems kind of vague. I don't know if this is a topic that would be of interest to a lot of people, but it's just something that was on my mind. And one of the things that draws me to tarot is that when I'm drawing cards, when I'm asking spirit a question, when I'm throwing out a query or a wish, there never seems to be a stupid question. The thing that I love about tarot is that any query, any question that comes to mind, I can, you know, shuffle the cards, draw a card, and I always find something insightful. So I figured that might be an interesting reading for today. So we're going to get started. I'm going to use my hoodoo deck. I'm really, I am, I might have mentioned this in another video how I didn't, I didn't quite connect to this deck right away. I think I was putting too much pressure on my connection to this deck, but now it's a deck that I really enjoy consulting. So I think this deck, which I consider to be a very beautiful deck, might be a great deck to consult when thinking about beauty that's in line with, my heritage, my African American heritage. And I think just kind of, with this being Black History Month, a month, of course, for, African Americans, for us to really sort of appreciate our heritage, our lineage, and also to, to appreciate our beauty, what we've contributed to society writ large, and how we have over our time in American history, embraced our own beauty. Um, Not always the easiest thing to do, but more and more we embrace ourselves, we take pride in ourselves, and just kind of, I think this would be a great way to approach the beauty question, embracing your natural beauty or embracing your version of beauty. It doesn't necessarily always have to be natural, but yeah. So I'm just going to do a little shuffle, and I will be right back with the reading. A little shuffle here, and I will be right back. Okay, here we go with our cards. I'm going to do one more little shuffle, and then I'll cut. Okay, here we go. Okay, one more little shuffle. Well, my shuffle I guess isn't necessarily the fanciest, but I do enjoy the shuffle. It's kind of meditative. Spirit, what advice can you give us on how to embrace our inner beauty, how to be confident and beautiful in our own ways? What can you share with us about embracing our beauty? And one affirmation that I've found that I think will be a really good thing to start my readings off with. More and more, I trust my own intuitive process. I trust Spirit's guidance in understanding the messages that I receive. So we'll pull a card. Okay, let's hit a card. I'll probably pull three cards. I'm going to try a different spread, an advice from the universe spread. And we'll start with three cards. Usually I do a three card spread. I don't necessarily have a specific, I guess, a specific interpretation of each card. I just kind of pull three cards, and usually together there'll be I'll just kind of intuit an um, interpretation, intuit a narrative or an arc for the reading. But I think in this case, I would like to consult a very specific um, type of spread. I think this first card will be what I need to know. This will be something significant to focus on about this particular topic. So this will be a card, a specific idea or insight about beauty. The second card will be a new perspective. It'll be something I may not be able to see, something that'll show me how to expand the ways that I see a situation. And this third one might be action to take, an actionable step to take toward a favorable outcome. So we have card one, card two, and card three. So let's see what Spirit tells us. Okay, Seven of Knives. That is what I need to know about beauty. Interesting. Nine of Baskets, a new perspective. What I may not be able to see. Let's see. And maybe a perspective that I need to expand the ways that I see beauty. Interesting. Nine of Baskets. Oh, Ace of Baskets. Action to take. Hmm, that's very interesting. Okay. So starting with Seven of Knives, in this particular deck, the knives, of course, represent the swords. And let's see, let's think about Seven of Swords. Hmm, hmm, that's interesting. The Seven of Swords, the idea of that tends to be, Seven of Swords tends to have an association with deceit or, maybe strategy is a different way to think of it. What I need to know. Maybe beauty is strategic. Maybe beauty is about being resourceful, taking what it is that you already have and making the most of it. Um, if we're thinking of it in terms of, I hate to say deceit, but maybe exaggerating one's own features. This makes me think about makeup, like right away. I don't necessarily get into too much makeup. I love a smoky eye, and depending on the situation, either a bold lip or a nice subdued lip. Um, and so maybe Seven of Knives represents, you know, how you apply cosmetics. Maybe this is way far out, but it's an interesting card to pull for something like that. So maybe what I should bear in mind is just kind of thinking about working with what I have, maybe thinking about zhuzhing up what it is I have, not in a deceitful way, but in a way that's strategic, a way that maybe highlights features that I'm proud of, maybe adjusts or minimizes features that maybe I'm not so proud of, or learning how to work with every feature I have so that it is something that I'm proud of. So that is this is a very interesting card to pull for the first position. So what I need to know, let's see. Now let's look at our second card here. Okay, so for our second card, we have nine of baskets. So in the hoodoo deck, the baskets represent the cups. So nine of cups, that is a card of, this is a card of fulfillment, a card of satisfaction. And I think this goes along with being grateful for what it is that you have, being grateful for, your attributes, being grateful for your features, being appreciative of your features. And I also think this just kind of came to mind, nine of baskets, being grateful for maybe a beauty routine. I find that having a beauty routine, it is kind of a blessing because there are things that you kind of take for granted when you do have a beauty routine. Um, Maybe this is something we don't think about a lot, but things like access to clean water, fresh water, hot water, access to our makeup, access to lotion, access to cosmetics, access to things that we can use to beautify ourselves. And beauty, not necessarily for somebody else's gaze, but for self expression, for pampering yourself. If we look at the nine of baskets here, that is a feast. That is a really, you know, let's see. Actually, some of this is food and some of this is money. I still see this as a feast. This is just kind of bounty. This is sort of blessing. And nines, I think, in cartomancy, I consider nine to be something of a harmony card. It's goodness multiplied. It's the threes, the sixes, and the nines are kind of a harmonious numbers, I think. So when you think of nines, and I think in this case, nine of baskets, or in traditional tarot, nine of cups, satisfaction, bounty, just sort of enough to share, enough to appreciate. And, I think of this as gratitude also. When you look at your bounty, be grateful for what it is that you have. And I guess as far as beauty, as far as keeping yourself up, being grateful for having access to things that make you feel beautiful, having access to things that help you put your best face forward, help you feel more confident, more radiant. So I think a perspective on that is looking at beauty, the attainment of beauty, or rather practicing your own beauty, having your own personal beauty practice is maybe an act of gratitude. It's something that you should never take for granted. There might be times that you might not have access to, I'll say in, my particular situation, we don't have hot water in this house. And I think in my home anyway. And it's a very long story about how our heating system was set up and it's going to take a lot of money to fix it up or that sort of thing. So for now, if we want hot water, we got to up and whatnot. So something as simple as hot water, not being able to take for granted having access to something like that. Um, it makes you grateful for what it is you do have access to. And it's a good way of being resourceful. So I think the nine of baskets offering a new perspective on beauty I think this is really good card. I can appreciate the message that Spirit is giving me on this one. So next, let's move on to our third position card. Okay. And finally, our third position card. This is the Ace of Baskets or the Ace of Hearts. Aces, of course, tend to represent new opportunity and a chance for a fresh start, a chance for a different outlook. So, in the action to take position, maybe the Ace of Baskets is an invitation to see, take a step toward try new things beauty wise. Try maybe a different brand of makeup. Try less makeup, more makeup. take chances with different colors, take this new perspective that I have on beauty and apply it in my everyday life. Maybe not necessarily look at beauty so much as cosmetics. That's definitely a part of beautifying yourself, but it doesn't always have to start with the cosmetics. Just think about what it is within yourself that you find beautiful. Find beauty in the world around you. You know, find beauty in other people. It's just an opportunity as far as the baskets, the cups. I think beauty, there's the saying beauty, what is it? I lost it. There's a saying about beauty and being beauty. Oh, I lost it. I'm alone. But anyway, beauty doesn't necessarily have to be cosmetic. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be always outward focused. Think of, inner beauty, things that make you healthy. Not just what you look like on the outside, but things that kind of feed your soul. Things that help you to cultivate beauty from within. Consider the people in your life. Consider being a more loving person outwardly, and that does something for you internally also. So I think the Ace of Baskets can be an opportunity for, you know, going inward, just being introspective about what beauty is, what makes you beautiful, what makes you happy, what makes you smile, what puts you in a good heart space. What are things that bring you joy? Um, when you're happy and when you're contented, when you're grateful, when you're heart centered, when you're thinking of ways to be, you know, a better person for yourself, not just outwardly, but inwardly, things that you find fulfilling, things that are enriching. You know, an aspect of beauty might be in looking inward and finding ways to embody beauty from within. I feel like maybe I'm talking in a little bit of a circle for this one, but yeah, I think this is a nice card. Action to take. Start from within. Take the Ace of Baskets as an opportunity to embrace new things when it comes to beauty, not just cosmetics, but cosmetics. They can make you feel nice. They can be a blessing or a gift, but also again maybe think of beauty in a more heart-centered way. Things that you can be a beautiful person, ways that you can be a beautiful person from within, ways that you can be kinder, more patient, more loving, that sort of thing. So I think that's what the Ace of Baskets represents here. So this is a very simple reading here. And one thing I do like to pull a bottom of the deck card. Now, since it's not necessarily in line with this very specific advice from the universe deck, I am curious. Let me see what might be at the bottom of this deck. Hmm. This is a major arcana card. This is the ancestors card, but also represents in this deck the death card. And that's interesting. It's really interesting that this is the bottom of the deck. I think, let's take a look at this. Let me mull this one over for just a second. Let's see, this is a stunning card, by the way. I like the way that this card represents death, in a way that signifies death as not just the end of a cycle, but the beginning of a new one, death as transformation. So maybe this card being at the bottom of the deck, it's almost like Spirit's way of the energy of this particular card pull, maybe the energy of my query is about transformation. Can I use beauty to transform into a higher version of myself? Um, letting go of things, letting go of cycles, letting go of mindsets that don't bring me closer to balance, harmony, or beauty, and transitioning to things that do. So this is an interesting card to be at the bottom of the deck. And yeah, I do like how this card is rendered. Death slash ancestors. In this case, ancestors represent the wisdom, I think, of before. You know, when we think of our ancestors, we think of the people who came before us. We think of genetics. You know, we owe our beauty to the people who came before us, you know, to our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, etc. Um, yeah, so this is a very apt card, I think, to have rather at the bottom of the deck. So I found this to be a really interesting reading. I hope that you were able to gain some insights from this as well, as far as beauty, what to know. Seven of Knives maybe can represent working with what it is that you have, being strategic in your beauty regimen. Is something that who a lot of us who wear makeup, a lot of us who enjoy beauty, you know, something that we understand, you know, how to highlight the things that we like about our appearance, maybe how to minimize the things that we don't necessarily love. You know, maybe if you've seen like really talented makeup artists who can restructure their faces with cosmetics, with makeup, you know, it's really a beautiful sight that the way a lot of makeup artists work. But anyway, I'm rambling. Seven of Knives, maybe this represents being strategic with your beauty, strategic with your resources, you know, working with what it is that you have, I think. The Nine of Baskets, I think, represents being grateful for your attributes. Um, you know, being grateful for whatever maybe cosmetics you might have, being grateful for the time, the space to have a beauty regimen, being able to take care of yourself in the way that you see fit, and being grateful for the ability to do that, I think is Nine of Baskets. Ace of Baskets, I think, is about embracing embracing your beauty, thinking of beauty not just cosmetically, you know, from the outside, but also what what makes you beautiful from within. What are things about your life, your mindset, your loved ones, your relationships that make you feel beautiful, that help you to embody the things that make you feel most beautiful? And finally, our bottom of the deck card again, ancestors slash death, major arcana card. Um, I think the energy of this reading is about transformation, transcendence through beauty, through beautifying ourselves. Also, you know, maybe paying homage to our ancestors, you know, our genetic makeup, the people who've passed down their genes, their heritage to us to help us be who it is that we are. You know, they make us who we are in a lot of ways. But yeah, I thought this was a really, really insightful reading, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. And if this is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing. Also, if you have a different interpretation of these cards, I'd love to see them in the comments. And until next time, this is Karmic Fixer Tarot, and I'll see you again soon.